Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
Good, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. I'm super excited to have you on. You've been gone through so much chaotic moment with the weather and everything on your end, and everyone's safe on your end and everything's gonna recover from really, really well. So yeah, we have an interesting topic to talk about today, which is like optimizing our personal health as an entrepreneur. So before we get to that topic, I'd love to know more about yourself. How did you become an entrepreneur yourself and started working with entrepreneurs?
Oh, wow. Yeah, without your health, you really don't have your business as
So
an
true.
entrepreneur, right? There's not a
Yeah.
second string that's going to come in and take care of things for you. So, for your listeners and your viewers, my name is Annie Bush, and I started out my first career in the legal field. I started out as a paralegal and a legal clerk and a legal secretary, and became a paralegal with the Department of Interior here in the United States at Yosemite National Park in the National Park Service. So I became a prosecutor, went to law school, became an attorney with the state of Florida here. So I was a prosecutor for over 6 years. And then my parents got sick.
Mm.
And, a lot of us that are in this health and wellness space either got here through our personal journeys or a family member. And that's how I got here too.
Yeah.
My father got cancer and he passed away. And then my mother got cancer.
Oh, so sorry to hear that.
And it was probably, well, thank you. And it was probably hers was growing while she was caregiving for my father. And like a lot of caregivers, your
Yeah.
attention is so much on that person you're taking care of that you
Yeah.
neglect yourself. And then so after he passed away, hers kind of revealed itself. And at that time, I went ahead and I moved in with her.
Hmm.
And that's when I made the switch over to getting into health and wellness space because I started taking her to her chemo treatment.
Right.
I'm switching gears, here I'm a criminal prosecutor. I don't know a lot about cancer, and I'm starting to do my research. And the connection between sugar and cancer is pretty strong. And I take my mother to her chemo treatments, and sitting right there next to the big machines and the apparatus and everything are cookies and candy and cupcakes. And I looked at the nurses like, are you trying to kill my mother? Here you're giving her chemo to kill the cancer and then sugar at the same time to feed it. And every time I asked, somebody that I thought had some authority and had some knowledge about the sugar, they just told me, let her eat what she wants to eat.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to crave sugar. And
Yeah.
so you give her I gave her what she wanted, but, I was frustrated. I was confused. And then I got angry. And I was like, I've got to do something to be able to empower people to learn about their bodies, learn what's going on, ask questions,
Mm.
and find out what's best for you. Because this was a while ago, and you really didn't question traditional medical authority.
Yeah.
And the functional integrative scene really hasn't emerged except for the last few years, more main. Became a health coach and then a lot of my personal training clients, their parents started declining cognitively. And this is where your entrepreneurs, this is where this starts kicking in.
Right.
You start, especially women, sorry, but the brain fog. When you're going through that perimenopause, menopause, your hormones are fluctuating and you start going through that brain fog. Well, I started having clients and their parents were in memory care units. That's what we call them here in the United States, where your cognition starts to decline, and that's where they take care of you. Well, they're feeding them sugar and candy and cupcakes, and it was like my parents all over again. I was like, you can't feed a declining brain sugar.
Yeah.
So I became a certified brain health coach under both Dr. Daniel Amen and Dr. Del Bredesen. And worked at a clinic here in Sarasota for a little over a year, specifically with cognitive decline and integrating things like exercise. And this is where, you know, we'll have more discussions with the entrepreneurs here.
Yeah.
Exercise, the importance of sleep, your nutrition, managing your stress levels, because all of these factors then have epigenetic effects on your DNA.
Yeah.
So now I've incorporated DNA analysis to see how all of these lifestyle changes and the epigenetics and these factors are affecting your DNA, which is affecting your health, which is affecting your business.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey you had, like a
Yeah,
from
and
like
yeah, but
law.
it's almost, yeah, it's almost like it's it's just the next step just logically follows.
Yeah, and you finally found your calling, right? So yeah, like you've been working with several entrepreneurs yourself, like you advocate of yourself, like looking after and like being in a great shape and get stamina, stress level, everything management. What the most important thing you see, like while we struggle as an entrepreneur, like maintaining our health and relationship in a manner of like we want it to be, but we can't keep the balance between the health. We often neglect the health. We care about money and like fame, success so much, but we neglect our main thing is our body. Because I've been after all 6 months now. This year probably I worked 2 3 months combined because my health all over the place because of the IBD flare up and everything. I've been hospitalized, going back and forth, lots of tests been done. And I can see that like money is nothing when you have your health is not with you, the body is not with you, you don't feel like living, right? And what are we actually missing there? Like a lot of people in America, especially, we tend to work 80 hours, 100 hours, and don't even care about like any kind of routine. Don't even have like 5 minutes when you wake up in the morning. There is no 5 minutes for us. We check emails, we check like a work on our bank balance. So what a shift need to be made in order to get like more conscious about like our health?
Is really paying attention to what's going on with your body and taking those, you know, start with 5 minutes in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't look at your emails, you know, leave the phone alone and connect with your body, your spirit. How do I feel? What am I feeling physically? What happens with entrepreneurs is we ignore all those little signs that our body is trying to tell us that we're out of balance.
Yeah.
All right. The insomnia, the not being able to sleep, the headaches, the joint pain, the stomach disorders, diarrhea, constipation, gas, bloating, every little thing that is your body's telling you you're out of balance, we ignore until it gets to the point where whatever that little thing is creating so much inflammation that that little thing is now bigger.
Sure.
Your headaches are now migraines, and your migraines are debilitating, and now you have to take off work.
Yeah.
Right? You're starting to get moody, which now then turns into agitation, that then turns into aggression, and you're yelling at your customers and your employees for no reason because your hormones, your neurotransmitters are out of balance. And I can tell you from a cognitive standpoint that things like Alzheimer's, even the beginning stages, the first time you notice something is a good 10 to 20 years after the shrinkage in your brain has already started. So whatever, you know, if you're a 20-something entrepreneur and you're sleeping 4 hours a night and you're going all the rest of the day, you are creating internal stress. It's called oxidative stress. You're not giving your body enough time to restore. So the stress is mounting. It's called cortisol, it's your stress hormone, all right? Which just wreaks havoc, and you think you're invincible in your 20s. Well, guess what? That's causing this internal inflammation
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, you're not going to know who your kids are because you ignore those little warning signs back when you were in your 20s and 30s
Right.
when they started
Yeah.
until you're in your 40s and 50s and can't remember where you put the car keys.
Mhm. It's slowly eating away like your ability, right?
Right. So for me, as far as for entrepreneurs, you really have to start paying attention to those little warning signs right when they start. Because if you can get a handle on them then you'll keep the cortisol levels down. You'll keep the inflammation down. And guess what? Your brain will be more effective if it's in balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, some of the other things that we look at are things like ADD and ADHD. You know, if you weren't diagnosed as a kid and your focus is getting worse and your concentration is getting worse and your distraction is getting worse, it may be that you've got a little bit of imbalances, and that's what ADD and ADHD is an imbalance in your brain. One part of your brain is overactive and the other part of your brain is inactive. It's underactive. So you've got this imbalance.
Right.
And that's why you're constantly checking Facebook and you're constantly checking Instagram instead of working on the proposal that's due tomorrow.
Mm.
Because you're constantly getting that little, what we call a little dopamine bump from Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that and the other thing, rather than concentrating on your work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like a big distraction for like entrepreneurs, right? Like
Yeah.
they're probably spending like 10 hours, 12 hours in the office, but actual productive hours is 2 hours, and rest is like searching on a social media, scrolling through, reading some blog post, and browsing through the YouTube. And end of the day, like what actually been achieved and nothing actually worth showing for, right?
Right. And you have to, you know, as an entrepreneur, know what part of the day are you most productive. Like I am a morning person, I am a morning thinker.
Mm.
I need to write. If I'm writing out programs, if I'm writing out a magazine article, you know, a blog post,
Yeah.
it's like 6 in the morning. But then by 2 in the afternoon, that's when I go exercise.
Right.
Right. And then after that, if I have reading I need to do. So figure out for yourself what hours during the day you're most productive and stick with it. And this thing, right, your phone, ignore it, put it in another room, go turn it off, go do something with it so that you can be productive during your productive hours.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is if you are experiencing, your body is out of balance. You've got that brain fog going on. You can't concentrate. You've got intestinal problems. And if you've even gone to traditional doctors and they are just giving you pills and they are just giving you medications rather than getting to the root cause of it, I would recommend that you get your genetics done, your DNA done. I'm a certified analyst with 3X4 Genetics. And I firmly believe now that I've been doing this for a while, you should come out of the hospital with your birth certificate and your DNA analysis because it is going to dictate what you should be eating, what your body was designed to eat, what exercises your body was designed to do, how much caffeine you should drink. You know, which is huge with entrepreneurs. If you're sitting around drinking coffee all day and then can't sleep at night, guess what? You may be a slow metabolizer of caffeine, and that caffeine is staying in your body longer, and that's what's affecting your sleep. Your genetics will tell you that.
Interesting.
You know, what's causing your inflammation? Are you having trouble detoxing excess insulin or glucose or cortisol or testosterone or estrogen? And it's building up and it's remetabolizing in your body and going to toxic levels. Your DNA will tell you that.
Right. Yeah, a lot of us don't know actually this kind of thing. We often like drink coffee and realize, oh, like I go sleeper in the night, even though I had a coffee in the morning. But some people are last more than like 24 hours. Their body is designed this way. Some people like they can have coffee just before they fall asleep and they having a good night's sleep. And I've seen them people so many times. They goes like without coffee having like we can go sleep because their body is can handle that. Some people eating so much fatty food, but still they got six pack. And you having like a one burger next morning using like a 1 kg of on a weight scale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, and especially like you said, for entrepreneurs drinking coffee all day long, if your body's not clearing that
Yeah.
caffeine, it's just then it starts wreaking havoc on your blood pressure
Yeah, right.
and on your cardiovascular system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figure out like for myself, like I got inflammatory bowel disease. So my inflammation is caused by stress, even though little stress. Probably I'm in a traffic, probably supposed to be get to the place I am. I'm just getting late. And just little stress actually caused the inflammation. My son diagnosed with like epilepsy. So when he gets seizure, like I get stressed out because obviously that's my son is going through such a uh, terrible moment and we have to call an ambulance and everything. That's a stressful moment until he gets to the hospital and get checked out by a doctor. But that moment is stressful and that actually caused me get stressed out and my inflammation. So I get my IBD gone, inflammation is gone up. So is there any way for like entrepreneurs, like probably they don't have the kind of disease I have, they probably have the stress, and because of the stress they can't go sleep or they can't be productive on their day-to-day activity. So obviously you've been specialized on that, like you helping entrepreneurs. What's the like steps you follow for manage the stress? Probably they do have day-to-day stress, probably the client on the proposal when didn't go through that as expected, they have like employee problems or like some law, they got sued by someone or something. Like the day-to-day activity, there is stress in running a business, you know, yourself. So what are the steps like they can follow in order to manage their stress and reduce their stress level?
All right. So there's the two, that's a really good question because you've actually identified two different types of stress.
Yeah.
That chronic day-to-day stress that just is always present.
Yeah.
Versus those acute episodes, like when your son has a seizure, where you go into what we call fight or flight mode.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, you know, your cortisol raises, your stress raises so that you can rise to the occasion to handle the situation. You know, just like our ancestors used to run from lions and tigers and bears, you know, that fight or flight. But then those cortisol levels should resolve.
Okay.
But it's that chronic day to day. So even though you have a cortisol event when your son has an episode, there's probably an underlying chronic stress as to when it's going to happen again. Or how is he doing?
Yeah.
And like with entrepreneurs, yeah, you get stressed out for that proposal or that bill that needs to get paid, but then there's that chronic everyday stress. So the natural hormone that takes care of cortisol, which is our stress hormone, is another hormone. It's called oxytocin. And when you can raise up your oxytocin levels, your cortisol levels go down. Now, for women, you may be familiar with oxytocin because it's the bonding hormone. So when you have a child, which enables a mother to bond with her child. But it also helps connection with other people.
Right.
So the connection with you and your clients, the connection with you and your customers, with your employees, that bonding. So as we raise our oxytocin levels, our cortisol levels will go down and those relationships will become more meaningful. So it's bringing more love and more caring and compassion into those relationships and understanding and releasing judgment and looking at people through those compassionate eyes. You know, no matter what kind of business that you're in.
Yeah.
You know, you want to have happy clients and happy customers. So to raise your oxytocin levels up, you know, one of the best things is to have a pet. You know, the caring for the pet and petting the pet and, you know, nurturing and spending time with the pet is that's a real bonding event. But anything that raises your happy factor, exercise, you know, but doing an exercise, and this is the most important thing with exercise, it's got to be something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to the gym because you're supposed to, or somebody told you to. You know, if you would rather be out running, go run. You know, if you want to go square dancing or line dancing or just dance in your living room, do that. Because whatever exercise you're doing should make you feel better, which then raises your oxytocin levels. And just simple things like going out with friends and having fun. You know, quit watching the news. You know, start watching silly sitcoms. And, you know, we need to learn how to belly laugh again.
Yeah.
You know, with everything that's going on in the world, and we just got through a hurricane, you need to learn how to laugh again. And not take, and I don't want to, you know, minimize anything, but we take things too seriously. Everything becomes too serious. And that's the other thing that it contributes to our stress levels. You know, and if we just read funny things and go out with your friends and laugh, it will increase those oxytocin levels, which will reduce the cortisol. You know, getting a good night's sleep, turning off the television, reading an old-fashioned book, you know, playing with your kids, having fun with your partner, your spouse, whoever. And just listening to music that makes you happy. I quit listening to country music because it was all, when I start listening to the lyrics, it's all really sad.
Yeah, you have to find your own thing, right? Like what works for you, yeah. And sleep is important. Without sleep, you can't be productive, right? We oftentimes just compromise with our sleep. We think like 4 hours, 5 hours sleep is enough, but end of the day, like it's not like 8, 9 hours sleep. Without that, like your body's not gonna react to how it should be. And a lot of people, they stay all night awake and try to go sleep in the daytime. The body doesn't get rested, right? You just get opposite of what you're actually doing and just killing your body. So many people in my family I've seen, like they work in the taxi driving and they think they're resting. Like one of them, my brother-in-law, is like 35 years old and his body is like 65 years old body because he got so much body aches. He's not rested all the time. It looks like he's tired and not getting the enough energy to do anything, and like putting over excess weight because of like no balance into it. So having like right time and going to sleep and waking on right time early morning, like you said, 6 o'clock, you start work and your stuff. It's the best thing to do. Like I wake up about 4 or 5 in the morning and do my thing and my prayers and everything for first 1 hour, 2 hour. Then I start work about 6, 7 o'clock. Then I do my first couple of hours. Then I take a power nap around 12 o'clock for a half an hour, 1 hour. Then I do all my podcasting, or if I need to talk to a client, everything happens after 2 p.m. Between 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. That's my, and end of the day, like 10 o'clock, I'm going to bed. So I get my 8 hours sleep, and yeah, it just gives the energy. So many times I can't do that because of my illnesses. I have to stay awake all night because of medication reaction to it. But other than that, like when I'm on it, then yeah, it just perfectly goes like when I'm on a routine. So yeah, you have to like have like a good night's sleep for entrepreneurs. It's a must.
And the other thing that, and what you pointed out too, is we all have our own circadian rhythms.
Yeah.
Okay. It used to be, you know, everybody needs to go to bed at 10 o'clock and get up at 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not where we're all at. Some of us are morning people and some of us are genetically night people.
Yeah.
You know, like you and I, we get up in the morning and that's when we're most productive. Well, some people don't start getting productive till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Right? So they're staying up. But that's okay if that's the way your circadian rhythms are. And as long as you're getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep anyway.
Yeah.
And from an entrepreneurial standpoint and a brain health standpoint, the reason why this is important is you go through 2 different phases of sleep at night. One of them is called your deep sleep phase. which activates something that's called your glymphatic system. And what that is your brain recedes a little bit during this phase. And your brain gets flooded with fluid that washes away the damaged cells.
Right.
From an Alzheimer's standpoint, it's all amyloid plaque. But we create damaged cells all day long. We're replenishing cells constantly. But it's when you're in this deep sleep phase that those damaged cells get washed away. And then you go into your dreaming phase, your REM sleep, which your brain is really active. And what it's doing during that phase is consolidating all the information that you took in that day and filing it away into storage.
Right.
So during the night, your brain's cleaning up. So like the cleanup crew is going through, and then the personnel is doing their filing. If you're not getting those two different phases of sleep, you're waking up with the same garbage cells that you went to sleep with. And all that information that you took in yesterday didn't get filed away.
Yeah. That actually works.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to like focus on the small things rather than like big things, and step by step, like one thing at a time. Like if you're starting out like working out, do it with like 15-20 minutes if you've never done it before. Otherwise, if you want to do 2 hours a day, then you'll be like exhausted, and next morning all body's gonna ache and you feel like, oh, just give up. We're not gonna work out. That's what happens in a New Year resolution, right? Like everyone wants to lose everything on the first month, and by February 15th, like a half of gone. Just everyone give up on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of that is because we're still in this mindset that we want things to happen right away.
Yeah. Don't have the patience.
Right. And the body takes time to heal and adjust and change. But what I want your listeners and your viewers to really understand is that every cell in your body listens to every thought that you have.
Yeah.
Okay? One more time. Every cell in your body is listening to every thought that you have. If your thoughts are how horrible things are and how stressed you are and how much money you don't have, and if it's negative and negative and negative, your cells in your body are going to respond accordingly.
Yeah.
And that gets back to what we talked about a while ago about making time for yourself and calming yourself. Right. And setting your intention for the day. And reducing those stress levels and getting your cortisol down and getting your oxytocin up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, we're coming to the end of this podcast. So it's been a great pleasure having a discussion with you on that. So I learned so many things from you as well. So yeah, if anyone interested to learn more about you, your work, where's the best place to find you?
I know because we're dealing with a global audience. The easiest is just via email. It's yourtotalbody@yahoo.com. Just send me your questions. Again, it's yourtotalbody@yahoo.com. My website is yourtotalbody.co. There's no M. So it's yourtotalbody.co. And you can also do a search for me on like Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And so you can hear the different podcasts that I've done. I've talked about ADD and ADHD, menopause, DNA. So you can check me out on wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amy, for coming to this show and sharing a valuable lesson to us. I hope you have a great day ahead and everything goes fine in Florida.
And I'm wishing you well too.
All right, thank you so much.
That's a wrap, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. So those who are interested to learn more about Amy, go check her out on her website. And also if you want to email her or work with her, go reach out to her as well. Until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.